On the seventh day of Christmas, I gave to myself a dramatic reading of a story. Frankenstein's glare. Well, yeah. So today, what I'm going to be doing is reading a story. Still can't see it, but still, you know. It is The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. This is a classic story. It's a bit lengthy, so I don't know if this video is going to be one long video or a couple of videos. But we'll have to see. I see a little ticker counter thing right there, so we should be okay. $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until one's cheeks burned with silent imputation of parsimony that such close dealing implied. If you don't know what that means, you can Google it. I don't know. I don't have time for this. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing left to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. Who howls on a couch? These people apparently. So Della did, which instigates the moral reflection of that life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles. With sniffles predominating. If you're that sniffly, why are you smiling? I mean, if you... never mind. While the mistress of the home is gradually subsiding from the first stage to the second, to take a look at the home, a furnished flat for $8 a week, it did not exactly beg her description, but certainly had word on the lookout for a Medicancy squad. The vestibule below was... sorry. These videos aren't scripted, if you can't tell. In the vestibule below was a letterbox into which no letter would go, and an electric button from which no mortal finger could coax a ring. Also appertaining thereunto was a car brand name Mr. James Dillingham Young. That's a mouthful. The Dillingham had been flying into the breeze during a former period of prosperity where the processor was being paid for $30 a week. What? $30? That's enough. You could buy that flat they were talking about. And then you have $22 left. You could live. Now, the income was shrunk to $20. The letters of Dillingham looked blurred, as though they were thinking seriously of contracting to a modest but unassuming D. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached his flat above, he was called Jim, and greatly hobbled by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced to you as Della, which is all very good. Della finished her cry and attended to her cheeks with the powder rag. She stood by the window and looked out dully at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Is this like a grayscale world where just everything's gray? I mean, come on. They always are. Only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim. Her Jim. Many a happy hour she spent planning for something nice for him. Something fine and rare and sterling. Something just a little bit near being worthy the honor of being owned by Jim. Is she like a slave or... No, she's his wife. I think back in that time women were like owned by their husband. There was a pier glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you have seen a pier glass in an $8 bat. A very thin and very agile person may, by observing his reflection in a rapid sequence of longitudinal strips, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Della, being slender, had mastered the art. Suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before the glass. Her eyes were shining brightly, but her face had lost its color within 20 seconds. Rapidly she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now there were 2 possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs, which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window someday just to dry and appreciate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been the janitor, with all his treasures piled up in the basement, why would a king be a janitor? Jeez. Jim would have pulled at his watch every time he passed, just to see him pluck at his beard from envy. Well, that's been about 5 minutes, and my camera battery's a bit low, so we'll save this. We'll put a tab on this. Hopefully, we'll continue tomorrow. So, thank you for listening to me read The Gift of the Magi, first part. I'll see you guys tomorrow.